My name is Evelyn Brooks. I don't remember when I first realized I didn't matter. Maybe it was the night I brought home a drawing from 3rd grade. A messy sketch of our house with all 4 of us. My mom glanced at it and said, "Why does Riley have a crown?" I shrugged. "She's the princess." She smiled, proud. No one asked why I'd drawn myself standing in the rain. That's how it always was. Riley was the sun, always center stage, soaking up warmth. I was the shadow trailing behind her. She got dance recitals. I got library cards. She got birthday parties with clowns and cameras. I got store-brand cupcakes in the kitchen while she opened her gifts. Whenever I spoke up, I was difficult. If I stayed quiet, I was cold. They called her strong-willed. Me? Rebellious. I wasn't angry, not then. Just tired. Tired of trying to squeeze myself into a family portrait I was never invited to. By the time I turned 17, I didn't even pack properly. Just threw some clothes into a duffel bag and left before sunrise. No note, no tears. Just freedom in the form of a creaky bus seat and $57. I heard my dad told people I'd run off to ruin myself. Maybe he needed that story to sleep at night. But I wasn't running toward destruction. I was running toward myself. They said I'd come crawling back. They smirked when I didn't apply for college. They laughed behind closed doors when I waited tables to survive. They didn't know. Every tip I earned, every book I studied by streetlight, was a brick. And one day, I'd use all those bricks to build a name they couldn't ignore. The apartment I landed in was more like a closet. Peeling paint, rusted pipes. The mattress on the floor was secondhand, and the windows didn't lock. But for the first time in my life, I could breathe. No one yelling down the hall. No one comparing me to Riley. Just silence. Heavy, honest. Mine. I got a job at a diner. Graveyard shifts. Endless coffee pots. Drunk regulars who called me kiddo and tipped in crumpled ones. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't pretty. But it was mine. Every blister on my feet meant 1 less ounce of dependence. By day, I took classes at the community center. Not for a degree, for knowledge. Politics, ethics, government. Things Riley never cared about unless it got her more likes. I stayed, invisible. Didn't post pictures, didn't call home. Didn't expect anyone to care that I was working 3 jobs while acing night courses. But somewhere between shift changes and early mornings, I started stacking wins. A scholarship, an unpaid internship at the mayor's office, a mentor who saw something no one else did. There were moments I wanted to give up, like the night I missed a final because my second job ran late. I cried in a bathroom stall, clutching a $20 tip like it could fix everything. But I didn't quit. Because I wasn't just chasing success. I was unlearning every lie they fed me. That I was too quiet. Too different. Too nothing. Turns out being underestimated is its own kind of power. They stopped watching me. So I built everything while they weren't looking. I watched Riley's rise like you'd watch a soap opera you didn't audition for. Filtered selfies. Sponsored posts. My morning routine videos filmed in a bathroom she didn't clean. Her voice everywhere, her face on everything. She became the successful one. Again. Not because she earned it, but because she knew how to perform. Meanwhile, I got my first promotion, an assistant to a city council member. No balloons, no champagne. Just a worn desk and a nameplate that spelled my name right. I didn't envy her. I envied how easy they made it for her to shine. My parents reposted every brand deal she landed, every outfit she wore. They called her a star. They called me never. One night, I came across her live stream. She was crying. Again, about how hard life is when you're famous. And then she said, "I wish my sister were more supportive, but she's bitter, Always has been. I didn't feel bitter, I felt done. Because by then I had my law degree. I'd worked campaigns, drafted policies, led a team through budget reform, and I still hadn't told them. Not out of spite. Out of peace. I no longer needed to prove anything. Not to people who didn't see me. Not to the sister who made me her ghost. Let them believe I was still folding napkins at a diner. Let them say I was lost. I was moving through the system, floor by floor. No cameras, no applause, just purpose. And a voice that didn't need a stage to be heard. It was a Tuesday. Gray sky, cold coffee, policy notes spread across my desk. Just another day, until my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in years. My mother. I stared at it until it stopped ringing. Then it rang again. And again. I answered on the fourth. Try, more out of curiosity than concern. Her voice trembled. Evelyn, we need your help. It's your sister. I didn't say anything. I let the silence ask the question. She's in trouble, she continued. Some investor deal went bad. There's talk of fraud, embezzlement. We don't know. What's real and what's not. I stopped listening, because in that moment, all I heard were echoes of my childhood. Why can't you be more like Riley? You'll never amount to anything. And now the golden girl had fallen. And suddenly, the daughter who never fit was useful. I told her I was in meetings all day. I'd see what I could do. Hung up without promising a thing. Hours later, I looked up the charges. They weren't small. Riley was facing real time. And the court date? 2 weeks away. I could have turned my back completely. But something tugged at me. Not sympathy. Not revenge. Clarity. This wasn't about Riley. It was about the girl I used to be. The one they erased. The one they never thought would matter. I wasn't going to save Riley. But I was going to be there. Not in the crowd. Not behind them. At the front. Where power sits. Where voices carry weight. They wanted me to crawl back. Instead, I'd rise. Right in front of them. The courthouse was buzzing. Paparazzi. Reporters. A perfect storm of scandal and shame. Riley had finally given them a story she couldn't spin. I arrived early, stepped through the back entrance. Not because I was hiding, but because I didn't need an audience. I wore a tailored navy suit, hair up, face calm. No one recognized me. Not at first. I walked past her lawyer, some overpriced name-dropper my parents begged to hire, and into the side chamber where the state's team was gathering. My badge said, Governor's Office, Legal Counsel. My voice? It carried weight. Then the doors opened, and I took my place. Front row, near the bench. When my parents walked in with Riley, they were holding hands like a fragile thread could keep them together. They didn't see me at first. They were too busy scanning for enemies, too focused on saving the daughter they adored. But when they sat down, Riley's eyes met mine. She blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Then she leaned into our mother and whispered, Is that Evelyn? My father looked up, squinting. The judge entered. Everyone rose, and the next words broke the room in half. Governor Brooks, would you like to make a statement on behalf of the state? My parents froze. Riley's mouth fell open. I stood, not with anger, not with pride, just presence. I didn't look at them, didn't need to. Because in that moment, I wasn't their disappointment. I was the voice of the state. The proof they never asked for. The reality they never believed in. And for the first time in their lives, they finally looked up. walked to the podium slowly, not to make a show, but to make sure they saw every step I had taken to get here. My heels echoed through the courtroom, not loud, but certain. I unfolded the paper, not because I needed it, but because I wanted them to know I had prepared. I stand before the court, I began, not to defend, not to destroy, but to uphold what justice demands, the same justice that applies to all of us, including those who thought they were above it. I didn't mention Riley's name. I didn't need to. She was already sinking beneath the weight of truth. I saw my mother's hand reach for my father's. He didn't take it. His face had gone pale. I finished my statement with one line. The law does not care about influence, filters, or followers. Only facts, and the facts will speak for themselves. When I returned to my seat, I didn't look at them. But I could feel their eyes, searching for the daughter they thought they lost, the one they ignored. Too late. The hearing was adjourned. Riley's trial would proceed. I stood, gathered my things. That's when I heard her voice behind me. Soft. Shaky. Evelyn. Wait. Paused. Not for her. For myself. To decide if that little girl inside me needed anything else from this moment. She didn't. I turned slightly, just enough for Riley to see my face. Then I nodded, once. Not in anger. Not in forgiveness. Just finality. Then I walked away. No cameras, no applause, only the quiet weight of being the woman they never saw coming. Days passed. No phone call, no text, no email with clumsy words like, "We didn't know," or, "We're proud now." Nothing. You'd think after seeing their forgotten daughter standing in a courtroom of power, something in them would shift. It didn't. And strangely, I didn't expect it to. They had built their lives around the myth that Riley was everything, and I was nothing. Undoing that would require more honesty than they were capable of. Still, I checked my phone. Once. Twice. Hope dies slow. But eventually, I stopped. I went back to work. Back to meetings, late nights, budget reviews, legislative headaches. But this time, I held myself a little different. Not because of the courtroom. Not because Riley had fallen. But because I had stood in a place I never thought I'd reach. Not for revenge, not for applause, but for proof to myself that I had become something real. I took Maya, my niece, Riley's daughter, out for ice cream that weekend. She didn't ask about her mom. She just looked at me and said, "You're important, aren't you?" I smiled, shrugged. "I just work hard." She nodded. Simple as that. Children don't need titles to recognize strength. They feel it. As we sat on that park bench, her feet swinging, mine planted, I realized something. I didn't need them to say sorry. I didn't need their love retrofitted to match my resume. What I needed was already here. Peace, purpose, and the freedom that comes when you no longer crave what they were never capable of giving. The trial moved forward. Her name splashed across. Tabloids, headlines gasping with fake sympathy and quiet judgment. Famous influencer caught in corporate scam. They loved to build her, then watch her fall. My parents tried to control the damage. Statement after statement. Excuses dressed as concern. Still, they never reached out to me. Not even to ask how I got there. To the front bench, to power. I wasn't angry. I just saw the truth for what it was. They only looked when they needed something. And this time, I had nothing left to give. I didn't pull strings, didn't intervene, didn't ask for mercy on Riley's behalf. Justice had to be clean, especially when people like me work so hard just to be seen as legitimate. So I let the system do what it was built to do. The day of the verdict, I stayed away. No cameras. No statements. Just me in my office reviewing housing reform numbers, because my work wasn't about them. It never was. Later, I heard through a colleague, guilty on 2 counts, probation, heavy fines. A media circus. And Riley? She posted a photo the next week. Black and white. Tearful eyes. Learning, growing, healing. I didn't comment. I didn't watch the comments pour in. I turned my phone off, poured tea into the mug my assistant gave me, the one that read, Madam Governor. Then I sat in my chair, window open, sun warm on my hands, and whispered to no one. I didn't save her. But I finally saved myself. A letter came in the mail. Not typed, handwritten. My mother's script, elegant, familiar, cold. She didn't say sorry. Not really. She wrote, "We didn't realize how much you'd accomplished. We were just scared for you, back then. Back then. As if their silence hadn't stretched across years, like an iron bridge I was expected to crawl under." She asked if we could start fresh, as if history were something you could wipe clean with polite ink. My father added a short note. "You've made something of yourself. We're proud." Proud. Of the version of me they never supported, never believed in, never stayed up late worrying about. They wanted a reunion, a lunch, to reconnect. But the girl I used to be, the one who would have clutched that letter like a lifeline, longing to be seen, aching for love dressed in crumbs, she was gone. I folded the paper neatly. No anger, no tears. Just a deep breath, and the decision not to respond. Because peace isn't always about forgiveness. Sometimes it's about boundaries. And healing doesn't always look like open arms. Sometimes it's a locked door, and a life that thrives without their applause. I had Maya now, Riley's daughter, who stayed with me most weekends. She painted portraits of governors in school and said, "My aunt is one." That was enough. More than enough. I didn't need a table at their house. I had built my own, with room for those who saw me not for who I wasn't, but for everything I had become. It was a Sunday morning. Soft light through the windows. Maya was helping me set the table. Mismatched mugs, homemade waffles, jazz humming from the old speaker. She laughed when syrup spilled, and I let it stay there a little longer than usual. Because mess isn't failure. It's proof you're living. Across from me sat people I chose. My campaign manager, my neighbor who always brings lemon pie, an old professor who once believed in me when no one else did. And Maya, bright-eyed, steady, asking questions about laws and fairness and dreams. No filters, no spotlight, no desperate hunger to be accepted, just warmth and presence. They called me governor sometimes, but most days I was just Evelyn, the woman who grew from silence, who turned rejection into root, who stopped waiting for a seat at their table and carved her own from splinters. My phone buzzed once that morning. A message from Riley, just one line. "Thank you for not letting me drown. I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner." I read it, let the words sit. Then I turned the phone face down and passed Maya the strawberries. Because I wasn't defined by the apologies that came too late. I was defined by the life I built from everything they didn't give me. The forgotten daughter? No. I am the remembered woman. Remembered not by them, but by myself. By every quiet choice that built this life. By the steady rise that didn't need an audience. Because in the end, the most powerful story I'll ever tell is the one I lived. When no one was watching. And finally, I'm at the head of the table. Mine.